want to start by thanking our guest, General Michael Flynn, for visiting Uganda for the first time. General Michael Flynn, as you know, is a celebrated general in the U.S. military. His career in the U.S. military was 33 years. He served for 33 years in various capacities. All the way up to the rank of Lieutenant General. He served in many operations, Afghanistan, Iraq, many other places. We used to study some of his writings when I was at Leavenworth, because he was then active in Iraq and in Afghanistan. So we used to read some of his counterterrorism papers. So he is a very well-known, popular general in the U.S. military, and we are honored that he's here with us. And I believe that this is the beginning of a very consequential and important relationship. I think he'll be coming to see us a lot more often. From our discussions today, I can see that he's very passionate about, obviously, defense and security, but also importantly about education, because I think 60% of our discussions have been centered on education, the education of young people, so that they learn to love their country, number one. They learn to value their nation, but also education that imparts certain values to young people. And he believes that the military should have a bigger role when it comes to education. I thank the ambassador, our ambassador Washington, Ambassador Robi Kagonge. Please clap for her. Give her a round of applause. She's the one who identified General Flynn, convinced him to come visit, and now he's here. I also want to thank Mr. Kwame Riondo. Mr. Kwame Riondo can also stand up. Another important asset that we have in building these networks that are very important.
I also want to thank Ambassador Robi, as you mentioned, and for all of us in here, particularly the young officers that are here, that are part of the staff of the CDF. Understand that probably the most important thing that you can do in your life is develop relationships with people and make those relationships stick, make them stand, make them last over time. Because relationships matter most when you're in trouble. Right? You don't want to meet a new relationship or have to develop a new relationship in a moment of crisis. Right? You want to develop relationships to prepare for the future, and you have those relationships forever. If they're meaningful, if there's substance to those relationships. And that's what I try to do in any relationship that I have. Despite we'll have long long periods where we're not together, or I only come visit, and maybe you come to the United States, as I mentioned earlier this evening. But I want you to know that I am the type of person and the type of leader that when I grab hold of something, and I'm grabbing hold of a nation because of the relationship that Ambassador Roby developed with me, and my studies of Uganda, and my study of Africa. And I think that the future, frankly, even the past, but certainly the future of the world will rest on two continents. And those two continents, one of them I'm standing on right now, and I'm standing in, as the general described, the Pearl of Africa. And the other continent that is actually emerging is the Southern Hemisphere, where you have countries like Chile and Argentina and Brazil. So as I look at the world, and I see the changes that are occurring, and the needs, the talent, the opportunity, and particularly in a place like Uganda, because we have a tendency to focus on ourselves. And that's not a bad thing, but when you start to look at the rest of how the world is evolving, and I know some of the things that the Ugandan Defense Forces are part of, you are developing a workforce, you're developing a military, and you're relatively new, right? There's still so much to learn, and one of the things that I like to do is, as the general said, is I like to get into the business of education, because I do believe in education. And the education of our military beyond the generals, right? I mean, because the generals, eventually we go away, and we have to develop new leaders. We have to develop the fresh leaders that will come after us in order to sustain this beautiful pearl. In order to sustain this country, you have to develop leaders. And where you develop leaders the best is you develop them in the military, in the armed forces. And one of the things that I really, really enjoy and like about what I have seen, and maybe on another trip I'll get a chance to go out and explore a bit, is your connection in the military to your communities. When I see the future of the direction that the world is going, and I've studied this quite a bit, and I've written a lot about it, and I've experienced it, in my own life, in combat and travel in different parts of the world. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here tonight in Uganda. That the one message that I would say is, as you go forward and you start to think about the future, because your future is so filled with opportunity, because you have a young generation that's hungry for what you provide. And what you provide is you provide structure, you provide discipline, you provide education, you provide training, you provide leadership, you provide an example. So on that note, General, thank you so much. God bless everybody, and thank you so much for allowing me some time tonight. God bless.